The Seattle Seahawks have added two pieces to the defense. One big one and one big name. Let's begin with Devin Bush, linebacker, former first-round pick out of Michigan of the Pittsburgh Steelers, has struggled as of late, and I'm sure you've heard about that. Devin Bush has not been a very effective NFL player over the last, I would call it, 2 seasons in the NFL. Remember when he was drafted, it was like, oh, who's that number 1 linebacker? It was Devin White, and then it was Devin Bush. It was the Devins. Devin White went first to Tampa Bay. Devin Bush went to Pittsburgh. Devin Bush was actually a pretty darn good player in his first season or so. And then he suffered an injury to his knee, I believe. And that has really set him back in terms of what his great skills were. The reason he was a first-round pick in the NFL. Devin Bush last year graded as the 54th best linebacker in the NFL. I think that's better than Steelers fans would tell you overall. But you're looking at his career. He had a pretty decent season as a rookie in 2019, grading as the 35th best player out of 90 in the NFL at linebacker. But the number one thing he's really struggled with is the run game. He struggled to consistently tackle. He struggled with getting off of blocks. He struggled with kind of, seeing through linemen, seeing through the trash, right? And being able to get swift through there and make the stop and make the tackle. So Devin Bush had some struggles, but the one big thing I want to say about this move is it's a 1-year deal on a former first-round pick that was a high first-round pick. He's had more time to come off of injury and come back from injury. And he hasn't missed any time as of late. He played all 17 games last year. He played 14 games the year before that. He did have 151 tackles in the last 2 years. And now that maybe more time to recover, more time to build his body, build his strength in his knee, he is a smaller guy, 5'11", 234, which is why his speed has been so important to him and his lateral ability has been so important to him. This kind of reminds me of a guy like Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith went to Dallas, was a really awesome linebacker once he could come back from his knee. And then he hurt it again. And he was just never the same player, and he hasn't been the same player in the NFL. Played for the Giants last year. Hasn't been the same player. Devin Bush could be that, but he's only 24. So he has a lot of time. He's still young. He could recover. And he's playing in a totally different system. Totally different, right? The Steelers run, a lot of, you would say that, yes, Seattle is kind of moving into more of like a 3-4 style defense, right? But Seattle still likes their linebackers to be fast. They still like their linebackers on the smaller side. Pittsburgh typically likes thumpers, typically likes bigger linebackers. So different schemes. So you would hope that in Seattle, with what he's asked to do, he can succeed in that scheme. And again, only 24 on a 1-year deal. So Devin Bush, I'm a little bit more. It's worth it. It's a low risk signing with high reward. So I always like those type of signings with former high draft picks. The other signing is a guy that I really like, Julian Love from the New York Giants. Julian Love is a captain. Julian Love is a rangy free safety, converted from the cornerback position to play free safety, has played nickel with the Seattle Seahawks, or might play nickel for the Seattle Seahawks, but played some nickel for the New York Giants. But mostly free safety as of late for Don Martindale's defense. And interesting signing because I didn't see the fit due to the fact that he'd never played in that system. But when you look at Julian Love, he's kind of a similar body to, like off the top of my head, Earl Thomas. He's 5'11", 195. I'm going to just for the giggles, I'm going to look up Earl Thomas's size. Earl Thomas was 5'10", 202. So Earl Thomas was a little bit stockier, a little bit heavier but Julian Love, 5'11", an inch taller, 7 pounds lighter. So similar build as a free safety, which I think is interesting, right? He's a good kind of middle of the field solo free safety. 16 games started last year, 2 interceptions, 1 forced fumble, 124 tackles. Active. Strong tackler in space, active tackler. Played 95% of the snaps last year, which was a huge up in percentage from 52% last year when he only started 5 games. But New York was kind of using him before in like a hybrid free safety nickel role because they had Logan Ryan there. So Logan Ryan kind of and him split time at both positions. Julian Love last year graded as the, let's just check. I know that he played well for the Giants because the Giants really only had Adoree Jackson, Julian Love, and Xavier McKinney, and a lot of pressure was on those 3 guys. So let's see if PFF agrees. 44th overall in the NFL, so pretty well on 1,100 snaps. Previous seasons, not great in 2021 or 2020, where I want to say he played more in the nickel than he did last year, where he played 578 snaps at free safety, 170 in the slot, and 296 in the box. So he played a little bit everywhere, but mostly free safety. And I think that's where he's going to play for Seattle. So what did Seattle get here? They got a rangy free safety who can play some man coverage as a converted corner, right? He's got good quickness, can match some slot receivers, can play a little bit of nickel. It's not his preferred position, but he can play it every once in a while, especially in dime personnel. Then you also have a guy that's a leader, a captain, a hard worker. I'm shocked that the Giants didn't re-sign him, honestly. Shocked. I thought he would go back to the Giants because now when you look at that secondary, it's pretty bare. Outside of Xavier McKinney and Adoree Jackson, they don't have a lot that I would say is NFL starting caliber, okay? So I really like this. Now, the question I have about this move for the Seattle Seahawks is, where do you play all these guys? Because Quandre Diggs is a really good free safety. Getting a little bit older, but he's a really good free safety. You got Jamal Adams, who's coming back from injury. Was playing great early last year before he got hurt in that, I think, opener. And then it seemed like they finally found a formula for him to really have success in that new defense. And what is he going to do now? Like, is he going to play more linebacker now? Because you do have a weakness at linebacker. You don't have Bobby Wagner anymore. You didn't last year. And Jordan Brooks is coming back from an injury. Devin Bush, is he more of a depth signing? Does Jamal Adams play more in the box as a linebacker or like a strong, like near the line of scrimmage type player? That's where he's at his best. And then you've got Ryan Neal. And I think a lot of Seahawks fans overlook Ryan Neal. Ryan Neal is a good player. He played 772 snaps in place of Jamal Adams as that box player last year. Had an excellent elite coverage grade with 84.4 last year for Seattle, according to Pro Football Focus. And he graded as the 4th best safety in the NFL, 82 overall grade, 72.9 run defense grade. So he's a good strong safety type. He's a good box linebacker type, just like Jamal Adams. So maybe is Julian Love and Quandre Diggs the pure safety types? Is Julian Love a hybrid player? Is Quandre the middle of the field safety? Do Adams and Neal play at linebacker, like on sub packages? I think there's a lot of hybrid nature to this defense coming up, and I'm really intrigued to see what they do there. I think that could really upgrade their defense on pure passing downs if they're not putting as much stress on Jordan Brooks and their linebackers to really cover in space, and that could help them against teams like the 49ers who run a bunch of crossing routes and stuff, because you need the speed to be able to catch up to that and the recognition to be able to see what's going on around you. So, and linebackers, it's tough because they're not as used to being in space and coverage and moving like that. So I do like this move a lot. Julian Love's a good player, and I think he's only getting better. And for age reference, he is 24. So they signed 2 24-year-olds. I didn't even think he was that young, but that's crazy. So 2 24-year-olds for the Seahawks, a team that I think is going to shock the NFC. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to be a real competitive NFC team this year. So that's Julian Love and Devin Bush to the Seattle Seahawks.